Hello and welcome to the Stew with JT Brew on the Dynasty Pros Football Channel. Today we are breaking down the NFL schedule and we predict the win-loss records for every team. And we talk about what Vegas has them at, the over-unders, who do we like, who do we not. It all begins now on the Stew.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so started institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sipping brew, sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who clicking groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
Let's move on to what should be one of the worst divisions in football this year, the AFC South. They're playing, like we just talked about, the AFC North, and they're playing the NFC South. So this is where things get real interesting, John, because you have one of the worst divisions in the AFC South, and they're matched up with one of the worst divisions in the NFC South, which is why I think it really makes it interesting, because I can see a ton of teams just because of the schedule getting wins you wouldn't think they'd get wins, and other teams, lower than you think. Texans right now sit at plus 700 to win division, plus 800 on FanDuel. 6.5 is where Vegas has got them. The money's about even money at the over on 6.5. It's slightly leaning under at minus 130 and minus 122. What are you thinking on the Texans?
I had to squint really hard to get this team to 5 wins. And I had to put my bifocals on and then squint to get them to 5 wins. I don't like them at all. I don't. Nico Collins, John Mechie, who we're all expecting to be what John Mechie was expected to be before, he got his situation. Robert Woods, they drafted Tank Dell, which he's the size of my German Shepherd. And, Xavier Hutchinson is, the project. You got CJ Stroud, yeah, but that's not the answer. Damian Pierce, I think, is an overrated player. Bringing in Devin Singletary doesn't move anything, for anybody. Dalton Schultz, the tight end, yeah, he's good, but nothing absolutely crazy. This team is drafting Will Anderson was probably the best thing this team did, but I think they spent too much time. They spent too much to get him also. So I don't like where they're at right now. I don't like the way they have to rebuild without a lot of resources they could use in the future rebuilding. And I don't like this team for this year, even though it's in a bad division. I just don't. This team doesn't have the talent to beat anybody. I think. And nobody says that CJ Stroud is going to walk in here and just be elite. He's going to win. Even if it's a bad division, that doesn't mean anything. He's a rookie quarterback. We didn't even see him throw a pass in the NFL yet. So I got him at 5-12, and I'm being generous with that. I could see a 3 or 4 win team at probably at best. 5 was just kind of something I came up with because their division's so bad.
Yeah, John, I agree with you. I was looking at this same thing. I saw, the 6.5, and I'm like, there's no way. And then I saw the minus 130. I usually don't like to take something like that, a minus 130. I'm all over the minus 130. I don't think there's any way this team wins 7. Anyway, I've got them at 3-14. And even at the 3-14, I'm like, we got a toss-up game with the Cardinals. I mean, that's going to be the worst game of the year.
Right.
Them and the Cardinals is going to be awful. I had them beating the Titans 1 out of 2 games, which I think the Titans could beat them both times. And I don't think the Titans are good. I mean, I think this team has 2-3 wins written all over it to me. I mean, they lucked out. They were the worst team in the league last year.
Yes.
The fact that they lucked out, the Colts let them beat them at the end because Lovie Smith's the champion and had to get that win. So that, and then the Colts tied them in the week 1, and they beat, they lost. I just think this team's bad. I like CJ Stroud. I feel bad for him. I hope they don't absolutely ruin him in this first year. I hope they're okay enough that where he isn't terrible, but I don't like this Texas team at all. I don't care. I'm taking the minus 130 or a little bit better odds on FanDuel. Jump on FanDuel at minus 122. I'm taking the under 6.5 all day because I don't think can't see a world where they get to 7 wins. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Not even close. I mean, I could tell you every game in the schedule right now with an L in front of it without a problem. I'm giving them a couple wins, and that's being generous. So not a chance.
And looking at the over-unders, or the spreads for the year, I'm looking right now on the Vegas spreads. They are favored in 2 games. They're a -1 and a -1.5 in 2 home games. Oh, -1 and another. So they have them right now favored in only 3 games, and all of them are a -1 at home. And you usually get bonus just for being at home. Yeah. So I just, like I said, I just don't see it at all. Texans are going to be bad. I'm going to be betting on under Texans games all over the place. I just don't think they're going to be good. Next team, another one of my favorites, Colts. Indianapolis plus 500 to win the division, plus 550 on FanDuel. Sorry, plus 500 DraftKings. They're sitting right now at 6.5. Vegas likes the over. They're -140 on DraftKings, -118 on FanDuel. Unders plus 120 and -104. Before I go on my rant and raving about the Colts, John, give me your thoughts on my boys, the horseshoe.
I got them at 7-10, and I mean, bad defense is not the cure for a team that is planning on running the ball. And Anthony Richardson, if they fall behind, and their plan was to run the ball and control the clock, I don't know what's going to happen to this team. Honestly, this could be a disaster, man. I'm sorry. I know this is your guys and all, but I don't know what. Like I said, if they plan the running game, if they start out ahead and they could stop people and run the ball and just keep JT and AR-15 keep just run the ball down your throat and ball control this offense somehow, some way, they're going to win games. But if they start falling behind and they can't rely on JT and they can't rely on Anthony Richardson, I don't know how they're going to play catch up with the receivers they have on this team too. I mean, my favorite receiver on this team is Anthony Richardson, is Ashton Doolin, to be honest with you. Like, I love Pittman, but he's just such an underachiever. Alec Pierce, I like him too. Isaiah McKenzie, get out of here. Like, I don't know why. It should be Josh Downs should start right from the get-go, or Ashton Doolin. Pittman just needs to start picking it up, man. I know he's good, but for what we expected from him, he's just not producing what a quarterback needs him to do. Alec Pierce is underrated, but they don't have any kind of crazy receiving core to keep them in games if they need to play catch-up at all, especially they don't have a quarterback that's accurate either. So I know you like Gardner Minshew, and he's going to be the guy that starts the season out. Hopefully gets a couple wins underneath the belt, or they're going to pull the rug out and put Anthony Richardson there. And Gardner Minshew is, I think, overrated. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to say it to piss a lot of people off. I think he's overrated, but yeah, I know he's the best thing ever because he wears jorts and he got a stupid mustache, but he's nothing special. Anthony Richardson, I just feel like he's a project, and Anthony Richardson need to go somewhere else besides this team to kind of wait for another year, probably 2 years, to really kind of get his. I think watching Anthony Richardson in college was like special. Man, he is good, but he needs to sit back, learn, and like kind of. He can't run the entire team can't run through Anthony Richardson. It can't be that way. He needs to be on a pro offense where he learns how to throw the ball, get the ball downfield, distribute the ball across the field, and not just take off and run all the time. And man, I just feel like I wish he would have went to a better team that didn't need to. That's probably not going to insert him as fast as he's going to get inserted in this offense.
Yeah, for me, obviously a little homer pick here. The schedule is so easy. I mean, it is set up for them to get a lot of wins. I wish I knew right now what they were doing at quarterback. So this is a bet that honestly I'm probably holding out for a while before I decide what I'm going to take on the Colts over or under. I think they go over 6.5 easy. I think this team wins 7, but I think this team could win as many as 11 games. If everything goes right with the schedule set up the way it is, the question is going to be, is it a back and forth between AR and Minshew all year, or do they come in Minshew right off the bat and they say we're playing Minshew and letting Anthony Richardson sit, and if they play the whole year with Minshew, I think they can win 11 games. I know that sounds crazy. Oh. I think he's good enough against this schedule. And now, are they going to be a really good team? No. I think they're a team that would, if they make the playoffs, they'll get blasted the first round. But I think because the schedule's so weak, and this team has actually got some really good bones. I mean, they were beat up last year. They got to 4 wins, and they had Jonathan Taylor's out half the year. Matt Ryan couldn't throw the ball at all. They tried Ellinger. He was even worse. The defense was actually pretty solid, even though they were banged out. Shaq Leonard missed the whole year. I actually see this team has a big upside. The question is, if they go back and forth between Minshew and AR, I think that's going to end up being a nightmare, and I can see things falling apart. Absolutely falling apart like it did last year, and they end up with like 4 or 5 wins.
Let's go over the schedule because we have to figure what's going on here. There's no way they're winning 11 games this season. The Jaguars week 1, they're losing to Jacksonville week 1. Okay,
I got them winning that game. I think Minshew starts that game and he plays out of his mind against the Jags, and I think they actually win that game.
You said Minshew, not Patrick Mahomes, right?
I got Minshew. I think
all right, good.
I think they win that game. I think the Colts actually win the opener against the Jags.
Okay,
I think they
I don't.
Well, I know I'm going to be under on that, but I think they win that game. I got at Texans. I think that's a win.
Win, yes.
I got them losing at the Ravens.
Okay.
I got them winning at home against the Rams.
Yes.
Winning at home against the Titans.
It's a toss-up, but I'll give it to you.
That's a toss-up game, but I got them winning that. I have them losing at Jacksonville. That's a guaranteed loss. They always lose at Jacksonville. Again, this is a Browns toss-up. I have them winning this Browns game, but if Deshaun Watson comes out and plays great, I can see him losing that game. Right now, I have them winning that game.
That's why I guess I have them losing to the Browns, because I think the Browns are not going to be the Browns everybody expects. I think Watson's not going to be fantastic, but he'll be way above the situation where I just don't think the Colts can come back if the Browns get ahead early. So they're not beating the Saints.
I definitely think that's a toss-up game. I actually think they're better than the Saints. I think they beat the Saints at home. Now, if that game was a road game, I think they probably lose it. I'm giving the slight edge just because it's a home game. I have them losing at the Panthers.
I've been to a bunch of Colts games, okay, and there's a dome in there, and they scream third down like for 4.5 hours every time they get a third down. So I get, but I really don't see the home field advantage of playing in a dome. But for any team, it's a fantastic stadium, but it's not like this Colts has this. It's like the 12th man where you can't hear yourself talking or like that in there. Come on, man.
It's been loud at that at times back in the past, but not lately because they haven't been good enough to get the crowd for that. But I just think that I think that Saints-Panthers is a toss-up. I've got them winning the Saints game but losing at the Panthers. But I can see it flipping. I can see them winning at the Panthers and losing at home against the Saints. The Patriots game in Germany, I think that's a toss-up game. I think they lose that game just because I think Belichick outcoaches them all the time. But I think they lose that game in Germany. Bye week, I got them beating Tampa Bay at home. I've got them winning at Tennessee Titans, but I think that's a toss-up. I have them losing at the Bengals. I have them losing at home to the Steelers. They lost at home to the Steelers last year. I think the Steelers are better than them. I think they win that game. I think it's a little bit of a toss-up at Falcons at Atlanta, but I think
they're going to smoke them.
I think it's a pretty toss-up game. I think the Colts have a better team. I think the Colts have a much better defense. So I think Colts win that game. I think they win at home against the Raiders and home against the Texans. Like I said, I don't think this team is great by any means. Don't let me lie. I'm not telling you I think this team's great. I'm thinking the schedule is perfect for them. That's what I'm saying. This schedule, because they have one of the 5 easiest schedules in the league, and they're coming off a year where they had a ton of injuries to all their best players. So even if they did play Anthony Richardson the whole year, and I don't even think he's ready by any means to start, but if they play Richardson the whole year, I still think they get to 7 wins. If they stay with Minshew, and Minshew even plays decent Minshew, not above Minshew level, he plays at Minshew level. I think this team, because of the schedule, I don't see how they don't get to 7 games unless everything falls apart. And that'd have to be 2 years in a row. Everything fell apart last year, and they got to 4, and they should have beat the Texans in that tie game, or they would have had 5 wins. And they should have won the last game of the Texans. That gets them to 6 wins. So they were terrible last year, and they should have been at 6 wins last year. And this team is going to be better than last year's team.
What did they do to get better?
O-line's better. They were banged up. Jonathan Taylor back. He missed most of the year. He was banged up most of the year. I think he has a big bounce back season. If Shaq Leonard comes back on defense, he was a MVP caliber player on defense. He bounces back on defense. I think they're much better. I think their D-line is highly underrated. I think they have one of the better D-lines in all of football. I think their wide receiver core is okay. They've got another year of Pierce. Hopefully Downs adds a little something to it. I think Jelani Woods is going to be better at tight end. I just think, again, don't get me wrong, I don't think this team is a really good team by any means. I think they're a very average to below average team. I think the schedule sets up perfectly for them, where they got all their hard games at home. They've got a ton of easy road games. I just think this team wins at least 7 games, and if things click, I can see them getting to 11. I think they get smoked and they get the playoffs, but I think they could get to 11. I'm taking the over all day. All day, I'm taking the over on this.
This is one of those things where you sat last night and put like when you go to bed, you put the thing over your eyes where like you can't see any light or nothing like that. And you just have these dreams of the Colts winning 11 games, right? Like, yeah, I can see that. I can see them winning.
Talking myself completely into it.
Good for you. All right, I'm hoping they win 11 games. You win money.
All right, let's jump onto the Jaguars, a favorite in the division. A team kind of came out of nowhere last year. They were a team I liked last year. I just thought the way their schedule set up, I thought obviously the coaching was going to be better. They were a team I liked to bounce back, and I actually had them on the over wins last year. I actually almost took them to win the division. I didn't. I should have. But they're a team, I think, on the upswing. Right now, I think Vegas thinks the same thing. They're minus 150 on DraftKings, minus 160 on FanDuel to win the division. They're sitting right now at over 9.5 wins. I think that's a pretty nice number for Vegas to give you. Minus 135, DraftKings minus 150 on FanDuel. So people are definitely looking at 10 wins for them. The unders plus 115, plus 122. I jumped on this team. I looked at it. I like them a lot. I think they have a little bit of a tougher schedule. But I have them at 11-6. John, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I got them at 10-7. It's hard for me to do because I'm a real big Trevor Lawrence fan. So it's one of those things where it's an easy schedule in some parts, but there's some pretty tough games in here too. It all depends on if Calvin Ridley, when he comes back, if he's ready. If Calvin Ridley returns to form and is what they think Calvin Ridley can be, and they're already showing videos of him meshing with Trevor Lawrence, on the side in preseason in these mini camps, stuff like that. People throwing the ball to each other in people's backyards, stuff like that. He's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty well so far, but that's only you want to see some highlights on films. But I honestly the big thing about the Jaguars here is like their games in the big thing with them is they play 2 weeks in a row in London, so they can travel, kind of just relax. Other people have to travel, so that might be a couple easy wins where people that aren't used to traveling or getting jet lag, when they get a couple weeks to kind of sit back and just kind of ease into that schedule, that's hard for everybody else to travel. So I got them at 10-7 right now, but I could see them winning 11 or 12 games.
Yeah, I think for them, they obviously winning division, they got a harder schedule.
Yes.
But I didn't think the schedule was as difficult as it could have been.
No, that's what I said. They got some easy games. They got some really hard games too. It's a very tricky schedule with these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, so they got the Chiefs at home, so that's nice in week 2. They got the Chiefs at home. That's a winnable game. I have them losing it, but it's a winnable game. They're at the Bills. I think that's probably a loss, but again, they could be in the mix there. It's earlier enough in the season. It's not going to be freezing cold yet. They're at the Saints. I think that's a win. I think, like I talked about earlier, at the Steelers. I think that's a toss-up game there. They're at home for the Niners, which I think is great for them. But, I think that helps that they get the Niners at home. I think if they play at San Francisco, it's probably a for sure loss. But I like them a little later in the year at home. And then they get the Bengals at home. And they get the Ravens at home. So it's one of those things. So they got the tougher, most of the tougher teams in their division at home. And then the other side of their division is terrible. The rest of the schedule is, they're playing the NFC South and the AFC South. They're playing the Titans, Texans twice, Titans twice, Colts twice. They got the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, the Bucks. It can't line up any better for them. So even with the tough stuff on the schedule, I think this is an over for sure. I don't see them going 9-8. You'd have to have Trevor Lawrence get hurt and a disaster happen, I think, for them to go under 9 wins. So I'm even at the minus 135. I'm taking the over on this because I think minimum, like you said, 10-7. But again, if they can upset one of those other teams along the way and get a win at home, I think this team can win 11 or 12.
Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram is a pretty good formidable offensive receiving core to begin with. If Zay Jones can overproduce, and him and Trevor have a pretty good chemistry together, so that, and if you can get ETN and Bigsby to do what's expected of them in the backfield to say, that's the minimal for it. I think this is going to be a pretty damn good team.
Yep, I just like him. I like the way everything works out from there. Next team in this division, the Tennessee Titans. I still don't know how this team the last couple of years has won as many games as they have. It really shocks me, and I feel like they're due to fall off a cliff. I just feel like they're right there. They got good coaching. They got Derrick Henry still. The defense has been solid. So they've been able to fight through and win enough games the last couple of years to make the playoffs and be a contender in this division. I just feel like the wheels are ready to fall off on this team. I struggle to find wins. Right now, they're sitting at plus 400 to win the division on DraftKings, plus 360 on FanDuel. Over under 7.5, and right now they're about even money. DraftKings is plus 110 on the over. FanDuel's minus 105. The under is minus 130 and minus 115. I'm with Vegas on this. I don't see any way they get to 8 wins. I'm taking under 7. And John, I really struggled to find 4 wins. I end up going at 4-13. I think they can maybe sneak out 1 or 2 more. I don't see how this team gets above 6 wins.
I had them at 5-12, so I'm 100% on your page. Honestly, I mean, they're going to pepper Treylon Brooks the ball, but Nick Westbrook-Akine and Kyle Phillips are the other guys. I think Chicago might be the second best receiver on this team, and he's an undersized tight end that moves pretty well. That's it. So Derrick Henry running the ball, the play action is all that they have. That's all they've ever had in the past. And that's it. So play action to Treylon Burks and dump offs to Chicago are all that this offense has, and that's it. This is nothing special on this team. 5-12 is probably optimistic in reality, but like you said before, I don't know how they won games in the past. They just seem to. Derrick Henry's made things happen. He's a beast, but they need to get rid of Derrick Henry. And if they don't get rid of Derrick Henry, I can see the wheels falling off the train of the Derrick Henry machine, finally happening where he just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So, we'll do it. Again, hammer the under on the Tennessee. I can't believe it's 7.5. I think that number is going to fall, but I'm going to jump on it before it falls too much.
You up on trades and why you move? You ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release. We started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery up.